you think this has a happy ending, you haven't been paying attention.
Rogar Baratheon looked at her incredulously. Woman, you think you can dismiss me? No, he laughed. No. That was when Lord Corbray rose to his feet and drew his sword, the Valyrian steel blade called Lady Forlorn that was the pride of his house. Yes, he said, and laid the blade upon the table, its point toward Lord Rogar. Then and only then did his lordship realize that he had gone too far, that he stood alone against every man in the room. Welcome back to the Throne of the Dragon podcast, the show that covers each and every episode of HBO's House of the Dragon, and in the off season we are covering Fire and Blood. I'm Josh, and with me as always is Curtis. How you doing today, bud?
Good. You kind of confused me for a moment there because you said Throne of the Dragon podcast. For some reason, I was thinking that was the show name. And so if you see me on the recording going, then just ignore me. I don't know why I thought that, but it just, when you said it, it just didn't sound right to me. I was like, wait a minute, that's not
House of the
right.
Dragon, Throne of the Dragon, the Throne of
Yeah, I
the
don't
Dragon
know.
podcast that covers each episode of the House of the Dragon.
It's just weird though, because like
It's a
I've never had
mouthful.
that feeling before, you know? And it's not like we haven't done one in a long time or anything.
It has been a little bit since we've done one.
Yeah, but still, I mean, it's not like I haven't thought about the name in a long time. I say it to
You're
myself
right.
20 times a day. Throw the Dragon podcast, throw the Dragon podcast, throw the Dragon podcast. So, yeah, I don't know. It was kind of weird. Anyway,
We are
God,
we're getting close, my friend,
we
to
are. Yep.
season two.
Yep. I was actually just looking to, I mean, I know like chapters wise in the book, we still got some, I mean, we still got like what, three chapters left after this one of like Jaehaerys's reign.
Yeah.
Um, but I was looking at like a family um tree just a little bit ago, and I didn't realize how close we were to the Dance of the Dragon and such. So
Oh yeah. So
pretty cool, man.
okay,
Pretty cool.
great. Episode one
Mhm.
of Throne of the Dragon, or God, now you've got me doing it. Of
Sorry.
House of the Dragon. It starts with the Great Council,
Right,
and the old man is Jaehaerys,
right,
which is who we've been talking about the last couple chapters.
right,
Um, And yeah, so it's very close. Like, yeah, I think it was around the time that the show started, that I got more into looking in about the dance. And yeah, I was kind of blown away in the same way. I was like, oh God, I was like, that is really
it
close to the conquest. Like
it sneaks
that
up. Yeah, it
that
sneaks up to you
popped
on quick.
off after only a couple kings. Like they were
Right,
already fighting each other.
right. But as
You
we've
know, and then
seen
it
so
just
far, I mean,
continues. I
right, I
mean,
must say, as we've
yeah, it's
seen so far in the short, history of Targaryens in the Westeros, it seems like every king and queen have their problems. There's these little rebellions and different little fires that you have to put out. So I mean, you know, even in what we're going to talk about today, I mean, there's nothing like major, but there's little sparks of something here and there, in Jaehaerys's reign and is in the early years too. So
it's almost not surprising because Westeros had been in a state of war,
right,
forever before the
right.
Targaryens even came. Like this is just a land of people who, when they have a grievance with each other, they call the banners and everybody goes and fights. So,
He looked at me the
um,
wrong way. Call the banners.
yeah, but yeah, there's obviously that, like you were saying, but kind of what I was saying was that it doesn't take long from the conquest to the dance. And that's
Right,
the first Targaryen civil war.
right,
Then we've got a series of Blackfire rebellions that seem to pop off like every 15 to 20 years.
right,
Um, and so yeah, it's a pattern of infighting.
right. Yeah.
Wonder if that just kind of comes from, their Valyrian roots, because in Valyria was just, it was all these different dragon riding families like fighting for supremacy above each other.
Right.
And so, yeah, I wonder if that is just kind of like a spill off after, it seems like anytime there gets to be too many kids, then there ends up being some problems.
Right. This one family tree that I've got pulled up. Well, they don't make Alicent look very very good. She's got like a huge split gap teeth, it looks like. Now these are just like drawings, but it just kind of
Weird.
caught me off guard. Yeah, I was like,
I've
oh,
never
okay.
seen one that like made her look like weird.
It may just be kind of like some of the shadow. It just really looks like she's got a big split in her teeth. She's
I
kind of
did see
funny. But anyway,
some where they kind of portrayed her to look more like a Valarian because
yeah.
of their mom.
Um, Jaehaerys he makes me think of on Avatar: The Last Airbender, the cartoon show.
Hmm.
Prince Zuko's uncle. I can't remember what his name is,
Oh,
but
Uncle
he kind
Iroh.
of look, yeah, he looks like him in this picture. That's kind of funny. But anyway, yeah.
This is a weird family tree you're looking at.
Yeah. Yeah, these people are weird. But
Um,
and I almost
so
think too, like it looks like the pictures that they've drawn up. That's not even a word. Pictures that they've drawn up. It looks like it would be like the last pictures you would see of them because like Alysanne and Jaehaerys are both old, but then Viserys and Aegon and Rhaena, they're all pretty young looking. Especially like Viserys, he's super young looking. So,
okay.
but anyway, just
Hmm.
kind of interesting. Anyway,
Yeah.
carry on.
I like to see the different depictions people do.
Yeah.
Um, so I broke this chapter down into four different little subsections here, and it's just kind of this is another one of those chapters where it's what's everybody up to?
Yeah.
Where's everybody at?
That's why I like part of
Um,
it. He's like, he goes, now let us turn our attention to the west. Now let us turn our attention to the east. Like,
it's
okay.
Yeah, it's interesting to read that way, but it is
Right.
kind of a pain to do like notes or an outline for when
Oh, I
it's like
bet.
that,
Yeah.
because there's like so much back and forth.
Right.
So I kind of just wanted to have a more casual discussion about the chapter today.
Okay.
Some episodes we do like that, others are
What we have been
more,
doing wasn't casual.
this is
Yeah.
line by line.
Right.
Um, which I think is more appropriate when you're talking about the conquest or,
Right. Yeah.
Aegon the Young Crown's rising, stuff like that. It's makes more sense to break down just line by line, but there's a lot of hearsay, and we don't have a lot of super hard facts, in this
Right.
chapter. Um, so what do you make of the whole Rhaena Targaryen and Andro Farman kind of storyline out there? The Queen in the West.
Like what? What specifically are you?
Well, I mean, she's just kind of like floating around in the background over there.
I mean, she always kind of wanted to do her own thing, right?
Yeah. But
So,
we're finding out more, especially in this chapter, that she's kind of gotten resentful of the fact that she's been passed over
true.
as,
Yeah.
the oldest sibling because Jaehaerys
Right.
is her younger brother.
Right. Yeah, that's true. I mean, she's gaining her following over there. She's kind of doing her own thing. It's kind of weird because, it's like you have her, you got Jaehaerys and Alysanne over in Dragonstone doing their thing, and then you have, back at why can't I think of the name? Um, King's Landing. Rogar, or as I like to call him, Roger. a
Oh,
Baratheon,
Roger
and oh,
Baratheon.
Roger Baratheon. It was hard not to do that when I was reading. I'd have to stop myself. Rogar, Rogar.
Roger the
Um,
Dodge Baratheon.
there you go. But then him and um, Alyssa. How do you say? How would you
Yeah,
say it?
Alyssa
Alyssa.
Valarian.
Okay. I always have to like question like how I say some of these women's names because I'm like I don't think that's how it's really going to be said in the book. But anyway, Alyssa Valarian. I mean, they've got their thing going on too, so it's kind of like I don't know. It's interesting to like read all of those because, like you said, she's feeling resentment, the Queen of the West, of being passed over. Um, so it's almost like you're kind of like building that because now she's at Casterly Rock, right? That's where we left her off, right?
Yeah, because they have to
Basically,
leave
yeah, she
Fair
basically got
Isle.
banished. Yeah, but I couldn't remember if that's where we left him or not because I know that once they got there, it was kind of like it was a warm welcoming, but it kind of turned pretty cold, pretty quick, and it was like we
Well,
got to get out of here.
it just got weird. It didn't
Yeah,
even get like super cold. It was just like uncomfortable. Like
yeah,
they realize that everybody who's kind of waiting on them and, seeing to their needs are just reporting every little thing back
right.
to I can't remember what Lannister this is. Is it Lyman?
I think so,
I can't remember. But
but
report it back to
it's
the Lord and they I don't know, they start asking just all these weird questions, like if her and Andrew had ever consummated their marriage,
right,
because, classic Lannisters, they're looking for another jump up. It can't just be enough that they're already the richest house in
right.
Westeros.
We want the dragons, dragon
Yeah.
eggs. We can't get them. How about we pay for them? No, it's not gonna happen. Yeah, I mean, I know, I'm sure because you've read Fire and Blood, right?
Yeah, all the way.
Okay.
I stopped at the dance.
Okay,
So,
so you obviously know what ends up happening with her, but I'm interested to see like is she on her way back to King's Landing and are we going to have a conflict here? You know.
yeah.
So that's interesting to me. I mean, obviously, back on the island, you learn more about because up to this point it was just kind of like, hey, she's over here. Now in this chapter, yeah, you get more of like she married this guy, and his father was very, liked her very much. But then when he dies, it's like flip of a coin, and his oldest son, who does not like her, yeah, basically kicks her off the island. Um, and then the whole deal of like all her lovers, basically. Um, yeah, so it's kind of cool to get a little bit of history of her because we haven't, heard anything up to this point really besides her just running off from Magor. But
Yeah,
yeah,
there's a lot of resentment from Andrew's brother,
right,
all kind of stemming around that battle at the God's Eye,
right,
where Aegon the Uncrowned was killed by Maegor. Um, that was the first push, and then later on it's the Baratheons and later everyone standing for Jaehaerys against Maegor.
right.
But I think there's a lot of like pride for the guys who fought there and lived,
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, you lived
because
to tell the tale.
they were like a greatly outnumbered force,
Hmm.
you know. I, I don't know. And he feels like um Reyna doesn't like she doesn't really care. Like she like isn't, I guess, as appreciative as he wants her to be. Yeah, I don't really know the situation. It's all very vague. But obviously, like I feel like it was kind of described before that she was appreciative of them, like at
Oh, for
least taking
sure.
her
Her
in
hospitality.
after,
Yeah.
yeah, after everything. So, um, yeah, so I don't know. I can kind of see it from both sides there. I could see why he would also not really like her because there is probably like a feeling in Fair Isle too, like of all these people being loyal to her. We
Right.
see that
Hmm.
whenever he tries to stop
Yep.
them from leaving.
Right.
Um,
His sister,
so
wasn't it? That he was trying to keep
yeah,
from
yeah, he
leaving?
told the
Yeah.
rest of them they could go, but
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. I was trying to remember who it
And
was.
I guess like it only mentions that the loyalty is more towards his sister,
Mm,
than Reyna,
right.
but they're all kind of a unit at this point.
Well, but isn't
Like it's
yeah,
their whole group.
but wasn't it more of it was loyalty to Reyna, but then the whole deal at the docks was loyalty to his sister because they
Yeah,
they liked her. But yeah, I think you're right too. It's like we're a unit in the end because we're all kind of one and the same there. But a brave soul for standing up to Reyna and her dragon and saying, "Get off my island."
yeah,
What is it? Wasn't it the Maester that was like? I mean, I'm trying to remember exactly what they said, but it was like just basically a shock. There's like, I can't believe you just said that. Oh my God, we're gonna die. Oh, he said, I think they said something about the Maester wrote that like his like the island on fire flashed before his eyes in
yeah.
like that split moment.
Like when
Yeah.
he first told her to leave,
Yeah.
that her eyes were just like black, and he said for a minute I could see Fair Isle burning.
Right. It's like, oh God, oh God, oh God.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely not thinking things through.
No.
The
No.
sister definitely gives me Yara Greyjoy vibes though,
Okay.
because she's a sailor, she's like well respected by like all those guys out there, so I don't know, there was just kind of you know a
Okay.
thought in
No,
my head.
yeah, I see that. Yeah.
Or Asha in the books. She's Yara in the show.
Oh, okay. Why'd they change her name?
I can't remember if it was another combining of siblings like they
Yeah.
did with the Tyrells. I don't remember right offhand,
Okay.
but and yeah, like you said, we leave them at Casterly Rock. Then they're like, "Well, we got to get out of here.
Yeah,
Like
well,
this is
yeah, I
not
know.
this is not working out."
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't want to spoil a lot here.
No,
We'll
no, because
we'll
I'm
see what
interested to,
happens with that.
yeah, I'm interested to see what's going to happen.
Um, there's one thing I'm kind of leaving out of some of this stuff, and we'll talk about at the end.
Okay.
Because we'll just kind of talk about it as a whole. But um, Jaehaerys and Alysanne not doing a whole lot this chapter. They're still camped out at Dragonstone. I
Just
mean,
got chilling.
a lot of important things are happening, but
Right.
they're not, super mobile. Like they're on Dragonstone.
Right.
They do visit why can't I think of where they live? Wow, that's where House of Valarian's seat is.
Driftmark.
Yep, Driftmark.
Yeah,
They did visit Driftmark, and tour the shipyards,
that's right.
met
Yep.
with the sons of the current lord,
Right.
because
What was,
he's in King's Landing. He's the master of ships. Is it Adam?
I can't remember. Yeah, I can't
Adam and
remember off the top of my head.
Alan and
Why does my this okay, so the other thing too on this family tree, it has Rogar, his name is Robar.
Obar.
Robar.
Wait, where does it have him in the tree?
He's kind of on the left
Married
side.
to
Well, he's
Alyssa?
married. Yeah, he's married to Alyssa.
Huh.
Yep. I wonder if that's just a misspelling.
Yeah, that's
It's
weird.
got to be Roger Robar.
I'm sure there's a
My
Robar
some
like
friends
in the
called
line,
me
but
Robar. Some friends call me Roger. You can call me Rogar. Yeah. But
Um,
yeah, they visit Driftmark.
yeah, and there's
More of just kind of like a preparation chapter for them. I mean, he's doing his daily, sword work in the yard with the men there with him. While it seems like at nighttime he's more studying up on his fascination of his grandfather and his conquest, and she's there helping him with that along with the maester.
yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Not a whole lot going on. Um,
I like
yeah,
that he's do like the kind of training he's doing though, like so like you were saying in the morning um he's doing the work in the yard, and then at
mhm,
night he's reading about Aegon's conquest, and he's the most successful Targaryen king so far.
right,
Um but I like his style with his fighting where he wants to learn everything everybody knows. Like any
right,
weird style of fighting, any way you could try to kill me, like show me that.
right.
He's going to be, a really well-rounded fighter, but also like I always think back to the in the show the Dothraki talk about the or no, it's not the Dothraki. It is Syrio Forel talks about the Iron Dance of Westeros, which is, you know, iron armor fighting with long swords. It's a lot of hacking and slashing, and your three main points, of attack and defense. Um, and how when Jorah goes to after he gets like sent away from Daenerys and he comes back to her in those fighting pits, um, he is just getting whooped by that guy from I think he's from Bravos.
Yeah, I
He
think you're
kind of had
right.
that like water dancer style.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's just going to be a lot more well-rounded, if somebody with a completely different style than the main one that they teach in Westeros attacks him, he's going to be ready for it.
I did save a part, and there was that it was from his training. I'd like to read it real quick if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Jaehaerys was off bruised and bloody by evening, to Alisane's distress, but his prowess improved so markedly that near the end of his time on Dragonstone, old is it Elias?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. Himself told him, Your Grace, you will never be a king's guard. But if by some sorcery your uncle Magor himself were to rise from the grave, my coin would be on you. One evening, after a day in which Jaehaerys had been severely tested and battered, Maester Culper said to him, Your Grace, why do you punish yourself so harshly? The realm is at peace. The young king only smiled and replied, The realm was at peace when my grandsire died, but scarcely had my father climbed onto the throne, then foes rose up on every side. They were testing him to learn if he was strong or weak. They will test me as well. And I took that and I was like, okay, like he knows, he sees the patterns, and I'm sure that's from two different things. I think that's from living through some of that. And then the other part would be, again, reading in his books at nighttime, studying up on the conquest and such, and the history of, Targaryens and Westeros and such. So he's smart about it. He's getting ready for whatever is going to come because something's going to come. I mean, you have to think about it. I mean, we just talked about this just a little bit ago. There's a pattern. It's like there's been no true peace with any king, any Targaryen king in Westeros up to this point. You know, I
Yeah.
mean, very small, serving platter there, but still, I mean, he needs to prepare himself because he will, like you said, he will be tested because they tested those before him too. So, but I didn't, I enjoyed that part. I was thought I'm gonna have to save that part because that's really good.
Yeah. The So I would say he's like top two or three like wisest Targaryen
Okay.
kings.
Okay.
He he knows what he's doing. He's thinking everything through. He learns from everything that he's seen, you know. He goes through a lot of the same stuff that Aegon the third will go through, and just totally different like outcomes.
Okay.
Like I feel like Jaehaerys is the better for a lot of the things he suffers as a child, whereas Aegon the third is worse for it.
Okay.
So, um, and Rogar and Alyssa come up with that whole plan to send a bunch of people over to essentially get them to annul this marriage. They just can't let this go.
No, they
And
can't.
I understand like both sides of it. On Rogar and Alyssa's side, they just watched all this happen because, Aegon and Rhaena married. Like they know how these marriages just tear the realm apart. It
Right. Well,
gets the
even Alyssa,
faith like
she,
super riled up.
yeah, let's say even she, I mean, she did it herself,
Yeah.
you know? So, yeah, good.
Um, and so they know like what this can bring. And I think that's the biggest, I did like that quote too, where they were talking about how they don't want to remember Rogar Baratheon by the things that he did in that last year. You know,
Right.
like this was a guy who was a valiant warrior. He was, by all accounts, a decent person. He wasn't just some horrible lord. Um, he, married Alyssa Valarian after she was widowed. He was one of the first, I think he was the first, like, main or the first large house
Right.
to declare for Jaehaerys against Maegor. Um, they came in and took care of business with Maegor. He established Jaehaerys. They, got him crowned. I feel like he did a lot of good things. And they're just thinking about the fact that this is not going to go down the way you guys think it will, you
Right.
know?
His intentions are good.
Yeah.
His anger though and his judgment are clouded, I feel like.
Yeah. Like
Yeah, it
Jaehaerys
gets
now
to
is
a
saying have
point.
already won over the people,
Right.
and
Yeah.
they will continue to win over the people, even in spite of their marriage. But with everything they've just seen, I don't blame them for trying to stop this.
I
Now,
get it.
over
Yeah.
time, I think things add up and Rogar gets more and more aggravated about different stuff. And this wound just kind of festers.
Right.
And so eventually we find ourselves, at the small council meeting and him saying that we should put Jaehaerys aside.
Well, it's kind of like the book described it's like his war that he just couldn't finish. He just like you say, he just kind of became so obsessed with it. And
Yeah,
he has to be on the right side of it. He has to come out on the right side of the outcome, you know?
yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it ends up being his demise. So,
But it just feels like over and over they're like, oh, how could maybe we do this. Oh
right.
no, that's not working. Oh, what about this though?
What about this one?
It's like, you know what? I bet here in a little while they'll be like, oh, this was a dumb idea.
Right.
Let's annul the marriage. I mean, they were already ready to like have you guys go at it with the King's Guard and the castle
Right.
garrison on
Yeah.
Dragonstone. Like
You don't think you're gonna change their mind.
yeah, they are serious about this. So, um, it seems like everybody who gets sent into these situations just kind of gets taken over by them, you know?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
they get won over and now they're just on their side, you know,
Right.
like they're with them. Yeah, so none of this works out the way they wanted to.
Well, and even at the very end there with Alyssa, it's like she just kind of throws her hands in the air. It's like, I've already got Raina gone. Um, and she's obviously mad about or resentful about, the line and everything like that and who should have the throne. You've lost your husband, you've lost other kids. Um,
Yeah, Viserys.
right. And so now it's like the two children that are left, there's like you have a chance to actually have a relationship and mend something. It's like she got to the point where it's like, I just want him back. I just want him back, and that's where Roger freaks out. Roger acts like a Roger.
Yeah, she's lost her husband,
Mm,
her two oldest sons, Aegon and Viserys. Um, Rhaena's estranged, doesn't want to have anything to do with them. And then now Jaehaerys and Alysanne are on Dragonstone, and she doesn't know what's going to happen with them. She doesn't,
right.
I mean, I think a lot of people assume he'll be back like once he hits his birthday,
Yeah,
but nobody really knows what's going on.
right. And every day, I mean, it gets noticed that he's not around. He's not around. And then on top of that, it's like the people who were there who met the King's Guard, that day when they tried to take him back, it's like things start getting out, even though they were told not to. Um, and Rogar's so adamant about not having this stuff come out that he's even contemplating cutting out people's tongues and different stuff like that to try to keep, the word from getting out. But I mean, it's slowly getting out there day by day, you
Yeah.
know. So I mean, you're
I
not
do
going to
like
stop it.
the no, yeah, and that's the thing. Like you can't if you could silence six or seven, guys you had there, like if you could keep them quiet, that's one thing. Like part of
Right.
your personal like household guard or something, like I could maybe see that. But he went there, he went there with a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Yeah, you can't keep all those mouths shut. It's just not going to happen.
Right.
Somebody's going to let slip to somebody, and then it's going to be a
Hmm.
waterfall.
Right.
Um, what was I going to say? I lost my thought.
Uh, mm.
Oh, I did like the move of all those lords who just were like, "Well, I'm just going to go visit him on Dragonstone."
Yeah, it
You
was
know,
like,
like
screw you, I'm gonna go, man.
I'd love to just go see him there.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I noticed that, obviously some of them are the two main ones that I'm thinking about, Celtigars and the Valarians.
Hmm.
They are at King's Landing. They're on the small council, but they're there still standing for Jaehaerys, which is
Right.
evident whenever Rogar says that they should put him aside in favor of Arya.
Right.
And it always seems to be that powerhouse that's like a winning combination. And they're not even big houses, but the Targaryens backed with the other Valyrian houses, the
Hmm.
Celtigars, the Barremans, the Velaryons. That seems to be the source of power. Aegon had dragons, but he only had 500 men or something like that, like some
Right.
ridiculously low number. And that combined with the Velaryons, their numbers and their naval power, combined with the Celtigars and the Barremans, like that's like the winning combination, you know?
Right.
Which is why I had so much hope for Stannis in like the early days of Game of Thrones because Stannis's force is small, but he's got the Velaryons, he's got the Celtigars, he's got the Bar Emmons, like because he's Lord of Dragonstone. That's all in their domain.
Right.
Um, but yeah, that seems to be the source of power there. And then the other some of the other houses that were mentioned were the first ones to come over to Aegon's side. Like that initial um I don't even know if you can really call it a fight. It was all over pretty quickly. That was like the
A
day
skirmish.
or yeah, that was like right after the landing.
Yeah.
So it was like the first move they made. I want to say Mooten and I cannot remember the other house. But yeah, those are some of the ones that all came to visit him there. And granted, they're the closest ones, so you know, they're in the region. It makes sense that those are the
Right.
ones who come first. But that is the power circle, I feel like. Like these houses get together and you can almost make anything happen. So that just it feels like a really good sign for, his not
His
necessarily
reign.
reign, but his backing.
Okay.
Like these are the
Yeah.
guys that are the closest to him.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I just want to talk a little bit about all the stuff that goes on with Rogar. We mentioned his kind of gradual decline and one offense leads to, or one perceived offense leads to another perceived offense.
Yeah.
And before you know it, we're in the small council. That was where our quote from the beginning came, where he wants to, put Jaehaerys aside, send him to Old Town to be a maester,
Yeah.
and then put
It will chain
Araya, I
nicely.
believe, in his place.
Yeah, Araya.
Yeah, Araya.
Where's Rala at this time?
Um, she is. If Arya's at the Citadel, then Rayla's at.
And that's in
I forget where she
that's
is.
the other thing too, because didn't they switch them?
Yeah, they switched them
So
at the.
is that
Uh,
really area at the Citadel? Or is it Rala?
it's the other one. She like switched.
That
Yeah,
helps
she.
me.
Well, it's the opposite one. It's not. Yeah, if it's Arya at the Citadel, it's really Rayla.
Rala. Okay. Okay. That's what I was trying to remember. I was like, because that was that what, 2, 3 chapters ago? Feels like.
Yeah, that was a little ways back because
Yeah.
that
And it wasn't even that
was.
long. It was a pretty short piece to it,
Yeah.
when like they expanded on for like 3 or 4 pages, but it was just like maybe a paragraph's worth. But yeah.
Vamp for a second. Let me see if I can find the.
Um, oh man, there was something else I was gonna say about the family tree. One of the other things too, Annie's looks very timid and scared. Well, yeah, Magor looks old and scary.
He was
Uh,
very timid and scared.
And then the one that always got me, because this is one that I've used for several episodes, the when we get to Viserys the First, so the one that's in House of the Dragon, his picture here looks nothing like Patty Constantine's character does on the show.
Oh no, no,
He
no, no.
looks so like fat, old, and stupid in this one picture that they have, and his hair's super short. It's like that's not Patty. Come on now. But they did do the one eyeball for Eamon, and he's not wearing like an eye patch. It's just like it's still bloody and everything too. Just pretty funny. Um, But yeah, I do believe that whoever drew this up did it more as like the picture is based off of like what their last look would have been like before they, not like, oh, the look of death, but like at their age wise. Because like I said, some of these that we've already talked about that died at a young age, their picture is young, while as like Jaehaerys, he's an old man. Um, yeah. But anyway.
A lot of them don't live to be old men.
No, no, they don't.
I've got the bit here if you want to hear it.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so yet a curious thing befell Queen Rhaenyra's girls after the king's coronation, it was observed. The twins had ever been mirror images of each other in appearance, but not in temperament. Whereas Rayla was said to be a bold and willful child and a terror to the Septas who had been given charge of her, Arya had been known as a shy and timid creature, much given to tears and fears. She is frightened of horses, dogs, boys, and the loud voices of men with beards and dancing, and she is terrified of dragons. Grand Maester Bennifer wrote when Arya first came to court. That was before Maegor's fall and Jaehaerys' coronation, however. Afterward, the girl who remained at Oldtown devoted herself to prayer and study and never again required chastisement, whereas the girl who returned to King's Landing proved to be lively, quick-witted, and adventurous, and soon spending half her days in the kennels and stables and the dragon yards. Though nothing was ever proved, it was widely believed that someone, Queen Rhaena herself, or mayhaps her mother, Queen Alyssa, had used the occasion of the king's coronation to switch the twins. If so, no one inclined to question the deception, for until such time as Jaehaerys sired an heir of his body, Princess Arya, or the girl who now bore that name, was the heir of the Iron Throne. So yeah,
Yeah.
they switched them. And the one who is in Old Town is not even the one they're looking for. The
Right.
one who is in Old Town is the one who is super timid and
That's area
yeah,
or
that's actually Arya.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But then the other one's in King's Landing, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, okay, yeah, yeah. Oh, was she the one that they said they put her in like common folk clothing and she worked at like the king's stable? It was towards the end of
Yes,
this
yeah,
chapter.
because
Okay, yeah, yeah,
she,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, now we're getting it. Now we're putting it all together.
Yeah, they said that she worked at the stable for like the next year until
Right. It was like the best
Jaehaerys came back.
it was like the best year of her life, I think is what they said.
Yeah. Well, no
Yeah.
responsibility. You don't have to do the whole court thing. You don't have to be a lady. Like she loves horses. You just get to hang out
Just
and
chill out.
you
Yeah.
don't have to live the crappy life that you would normally have to live to be in that
Right.
situation, you know? Like I'm sure they told her that she has to be, or I'm sure they told the stable master that she has to be treated really well.
Right.
And, you
Yeah.
know, if he
But not
doesn't
like
know who she
strict like an
is,
accord. Yeah, yeah,
you know,
yeah.
yeah. So it's a fantasy camp.
Right. It's a
You know,
fantasy camp.
yeah, it's a fantasy camp.
Kramer goes to a fantasy camp. His whole life is a fantasy camp. Sit
Okay.
around, do nothing, mooch off your neighbors, fall ass backwards into money, and have sex. That's a fantasy camp
He's like without dating.
without dating. Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go.
Um, okay, yeah, so we were talking about Rogar. He wants to
What
put
if, hold on a second, what if
yeah,
somebody did a a like Targaryen um show that was in like that was in the style of Seinfeld? Right. Uh, anyway, sorry, go ahead. I had to get that off my
oh my
chest.
God.
Stew on that one to the next episode.
Um, okay, yeah, so Rogar wanted to set Jaehaerys aside for Arya. And that's kind of the breaking point,
He's
you
like,
know,
no.
whenever Alyssa dismisses him, like it says in the quote, he didn't take that seriously at
No.
all. Yeah, he's like, no, 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 no.
Come again?
But yeah, but that's when he realizes that everybody in the room is against him. Whenever Corbray takes out Lady Forlorn
Mhm.
and just lays it down as a warning.
But pointed at him.
Yeah. But even in the short term, he goes back to Storm's End
Mhm.
with a very small portion of his men.
Was like what, half of his men that he marched on King's Landing with when
Yeah.
Maegor was still around.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And
Pretty disheartening, man.
I think the quote
All
was
around.
that he had never lost as many men in battle as he did
To the
to
ale
the
houses and what was something
brothels of
else?
King's Landing.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Mm, yep.
Yep. It's
I'd rather have
the
that King's Landing life than the what did it say, like the forest and the mossy houses.
yeah, it's the Vegas of Westeros.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Um, but yeah, like I was saying, in the short term, he goes back to Storm's End, and you would think that he would let this is okay. Now it's sinking in. I kind of fucked up here.
Well, and that's what the book was saying too, is I like how he wrote it. Is like you would think that this would be a happy ending, but it was not a happy ending for Rogar.
Yeah.
I'd like to say that he asked for forgiveness, but he did not.
Nope.
Nope,
He's
not one
not. He's
bit.
not done making bad choices yet.
Not yet, at least. Yeah.
He's gonna make one desperate last move to send his brother Orin and over to Old Town to
Right.
try and trick them into giving him Arya or Arya. And that does not work. Um, it
Well, then
seems
not, and then
like,
on top of that, it's like we just talked about a little bit ago. That's not even the one you really want.
yeah, yeah, no, that would be a disappointment.
This is not the right one.
She was in King's Landing the whole time.
Yeah. Oh, and then if you figure that out, it's like, wow, she was with me the whole time. Anyway,
But I just love how this Septa like
it's
gets the
got backbone on her,
message.
man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and she's just like, no.
No.
She's like, this is weird. Like, it's all very
Uh,
vague. They're like, oh, we just
yeah.
need her.
Yeah.
And so none of it makes any sense.
No.
Somebody was sending for probably would have been a message from Melissa
Right.
or
Yeah.
Raina.
I mean, it's like, could you not come up with like a better plan, dude? Or were you just like so? I think he was just so desperate.
Yeah, no, they don't have any
So
moves
it's like
left.
you just don't even like really think about it. You're just like, go, 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 go.
Yeah, he's got his brothers, he has his army, and he could
Hmm.
call in his banners,
Yep.
but we don't have a whole lot of moves left.
Right. Not
So
many
yeah, he
pieces left on that chessboard, eh?
no. So he makes this desperate move um to try to get custody of her. Doesn't go down. And I love how they mentioned that Donald Hightower had no problem like imprisoning Orin. He's like, oh, I'm not scared of Storm's End.
Right.
Like I'm,
Yeah.
I'm not worried about it. And they made mention of
A
how,
change of character, man.
well, I looked at it as they weren't going to do anything
No.
to the High Towers, they have Old Town, which is,
Right.
where the Citadel is. It
Hmm.
kind of feels like a centerpiece for the faith too. And yeah, I don't know. He just wasn't gonna jump on murdering all those people let's go back for a second. So the uh the warrior sons, the stars and swords, like all that. In the early days there's a lot of knights and lords from, at least decent sized houses that are a
Right.
part of this. And so it's not just like a complete rabble out there. Plus, there are other lords who are like standing with them, basically. I can't remember what houses were out there with them, but there were like two houses that were basically like protecting them,
Right.
and they weren't going to let anything happen to them. So I think it is kind of a smart play by him not to really get super involved there, just to keep the gates of Old Town closed. Don't, support them. Don't stand against them. And we'll just kind of wait this thing out and
Yeah.
see what
Let's see what happens
happens.
there.
I mean, they're just camped out in the front yard, like
Right.
there's not a whole lot going on there. They are harassing anybody that comes by and killing them or robbing them or whatever, but, just take another way for a little while.
Right.
But, so yeah, I kind of feel like that's a different thing. He's like standing toe to toe with another lord and just being like, okay, like you sent somebody here to deceive us,
Right.
and kidnap somebody. So I'm gonna hold your brother hostage. And he knows that there's not, he doesn't have the backing of
Right.
the small council
Hmm.
or the Queen Regent. So
Say word travels fast. Yeah.
yeah. And then I really didn't think, he would be done. I kind of thought it seems like it's in
That's what I thought
Rogar's
too.
character
I'm like,
to
no, what's he gonna do next?
like, I'm calling in the banners, like we are
Yeah.
going to Old Town.
Right.
But no, he falls into a deep depression after this, and it's just I think it all kind of hits him at once,
Yeah.
The time also has caught up too. Jaehaerys is about to be full blown king, you
Right.
know. He's thinking about this. He's thinking about his treason at the small council. He pushed himself away from his wife. Never had any kids of his own. He's going to have
Hmm.
to leave Storm's End to one of his brothers, hopefully, if mercy will be shown to them, because they've all just kind of had his back, through this
Well,
stuff. So they're
yeah,
going
and
to be guilty
he's
by association.
right, but he has tried to write him in as their hands are clean. It's all me. It's all me. Yeah, we'll see how well that goes, or how well that's received. But yeah,
Yeah.
throw your hands in the air, man. It's over. It's like, well, I'm done.
Yep.
I mean, he knows like his head will probably be served to the king on a platter. You know,
Yeah. He's hoping for
yeah.
best case, which is the wall.
The wall. Yeah, yeah. Give me the wall, man. Give me the
God, it
wall.
sucks when the wall is best case.
Ugh.
That is just
Yeah.
terrible.
I do
Terrible.
like speaking of the wall, we did get a little bit of some news from the wall during this chapter of um, some rebellion, a little bit of um, what's their name? What's the Northmen's names? Why can I not think of it off the top of my head?
The
The house.
Starks?
Yeah, the Starks. All I could think of was Winterfell.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we get a little bit on the Starks.
One
Um,
a Brandon of many Brandons.
Yeah, that's why I was like, "Ugh, is this the one Brandon?" Yeah. I was like, how many Brandons are in this family?
Many.
Yeah. Of course you get some of the wildlings. You get some giants talk. Yeah, I just kind of thought that was interesting. But
That was
yeah.
pretty cool. In the
Yeah.
haunted forest.
The haunted forest. Yep.
So brutal.
Yeah. Or what was it the part that I can't remember who it was. They went north of the wall to I think to hunt some of the rebels, and like years later, one of their heads was like given back to the wall or whatever, and they're inquiring about the rest of the men, and their response, the wildlings' response was, "We ate them." It's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay,
Huh.
oh, great,
Oh,
all
right.
right,
Good.
terrific. We didn't want them back anyway. We weren't wanting to bury them or anything. So that's great, terrific.
Yeah, and they talked about at least one, if not two, of the other castles that we haven't
Yes,
really heard a whole lot about, you know.
right.
Um, God, I hope we get some form of long night like show or book or something because those early days when they're manning, like when the wall goes up and the
Hmm.
castles go up and they're manning the wall, there is a ridiculous number of castles on that wall.
Right.
And the Night's Watch numbers are just astronomical.
Because
Like
isn't it
now,
by
they don't even have
good?
5,000 men between like all the castles.
I was about to say, isn't it like by the time we get like Game of Thrones, there's really only like, is there really only one going?
No, there's three.
Or there's three going?
Yeah,
Okay.
there's the Shadow Tower, Castle Black, and Eastwatch.
Okay. It's been a while since I watched it. But yeah. Nice. That'd be kind of cool to like see the history of that and everything.
Yeah, when the Night's Watch was just like
Yeah.
when it wasn't all um, you know,
Murderers and
beggars and
rapists
thieves
and
and yeah.
all that. Yeah.
Yeah, when it was all, lords from noble houses, it was an honor to do it. It was a matter of life and death constantly.
Right. Hmm.
Yeah, that would be cool to see. There's a few Night's Watch rebellions that we hear about just in different things.
Mhm.
And one of the coolest ones is the Night's King. And I don't know if you've heard
Mhm.
anything about that, but the Night's King was a Lord Commander of the Night's Watch who the story goes that he married a woman who was like at least like half a white, like a what do they call them in the show? Because I'm pretty sure they just call them like whites or the others in the books. But
Okay.
in the show, they're God, what do they call them? Kind of like the Night King and
The White Walkers?
yeah, White Walkers. Yeah,
Oh, she was
yeah,
half White Walker?
yeah, something like that. Or
How in
she,
the world?
I think some thought is that she might have like been a witch of some kind or
Oh,
something.
okay. Okay.
But anyway, they form an alliance and I'm pretty sure there's like some dark sorcery and stuff involved
Mm,
where
okay.
they turn a bunch of the um, men of the Night's Watch like to their side. And the story goes that like the Stark and Winterfell had to join forces with the King Beyond the Wall
Mm,
to bring them down
okay.
because there was like no stopping them. It like took that much.
Okay.
Um, just kind of hitting them from both sides there. But yeah, that's one of the cooler ones. Um, a lot of the stories say too that the Night's King was a Stark,
Okay.
like that he was a Stark on the wall at that time.
Okay.
So yeah, but just kind of a cool, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Um, boo. Okay, so the last thing I kind of wanted to talk about a little bit was this book. I know it's your favorite book in the whole world.
You
A
mean
Caution for Young
this book
Girls.
right here?
What is that?
It's the book. Shall I read a page of ecstasy and
It's
sex?
it's a it's a caution for young girls.
No, it's
Oh.
not. Yeah, that's it's interesting. Anyway, go
What
ahead.
well, what do you make of the So the thought
The
is,
the possible story of Corian.
yeah, the thought is that Corleone Wilde is the author of this book
Right,
and that it's a story about her life.
right. The highs and the lows and the journey in between.
Yeah. At first, I kind of thought if you go through all of those experiences in order of how they're listed,
Hmm.
it seems plausible
Hmm.
up until a certain point. It's like the first like three or four, you're like, okay, I could see how that like would work, you know. She
What's the part
was
that? Go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
well, she's handmaid to a queen.
Hmm.
Then she's the paramour of a knight.
Hmm.
Then, which are like kind of things that happen to Corleone Wilde
Hmm.
because she is sent to be a handmaid to Alisane. She
Right,
leaves with that dude who I'm pretty sure is a knight.
right.
Um, then I can't remember what it was after that, but that's when he dies in he's in one of the free companies.
Yeah.
The
He
free
fell off his
company, the
horse.
free company.
The free company. Yeah.
The
We're a free
lamest free
company called
company name.
the
That
Free
is so
Company.
lame. That's one of those things that makes me think that none of it's true. Like it's
Yeah. Like
little
what?
details like that where I'm like, because okay, in the show, what are the free companies that you know about from the show?
The Free Company. No, I don't remember off the top of my head because, like I said, it's been quite a while.
Do you remember any of them?
I don't remember any off the top of my head. Now, if you name some of them, they may come back to me.
Well, we get one big one in season two,
Okay, what
and then
was
we
it?
get the biggest one in season eight.
Okay, what were they?
In the show, it's the Second Sons and the Golden Company.
I remember the Second Sons, not so much the Golden Company.
You don't remember the Golden Company with
I don't know why
Harry
I can't remember.
Strickland?
Who?
Homeless Harry Strickland.
What?
Okay, so in season eight, Cersei uses the money from the loot train to buy the Golden Company.
That's right. Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And they come
That's right.
over and then completely get obliterated in like 2 seconds.
Yeah. Wasted money.
Yeah. Yeah.
I forgot
Um,
about that.
which by the way, that there's no chance in hell that's happening in Game of Thrones. They're already allied with young Griff. So I don't know
Right.
what'll
Yo,
happen
you mean the
after that,
actual, you
but
mean the books or whatever?
yeah, in the books, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The Second Sons, those are pretty cool, man.
In the books, there's another one. There's several that they mention, but there's another one called The Windblown. But yeah, it's they all have cool names. None of them are just the Free
The
Company.
Free Company. All
There's
the cool names were taken.
the Brave Companions. Those guys are fucking terrifying. Like that's a group of them that are in Westeros, like during the
Companions?
War of the
I
Five
don't think
Kings.
they're companions.
Yeah, the
The
Brave
name sounds so
Companions.
like nice,
Those guys are
but
fucked up.
they're the opposites.
Yeah,
That's what it is. They want to lull you into a sense of security.
yeah. Oh yeah. So there's just little details like that that make me think that none of that is real. It's just a
Okay.
story that maybe the first like three or four things were true, and then it got built on and built on and built on. I went back and forth with this a lot, thinking that, okay, there's some credit to it or no, there's not. It's not insane to think about. I think about the line from the show where Missaria, Lady Misery, says that she's been bought and sold more times than she could count.
Right.
She's been all over the place. She's been, had a million jobs. So it's not unthinkable, you know, but a lot of them are just so fantastic that it's like once we get to the part with like the warlocks and Karth, I'm like, oh, okay, like she didn't make it all the way out there. Like that doesn't make any sense. Like the life expectancy around this time is like 40 years old. Like,
Right. Yeah.
you know. So that's the part where I'm just gonna like, okay. No, the first bit seems to be based in fact, if it is really written by Corleone Wilde. I don't think a lot of the other crap is really important. It's interesting to get a lot of these little behind the scene things like, her meeting at the end with either Rogar Baratheon or one of the others. They all have
His
similar
brother.
names.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't Orin, it was one of the others.
Yeah. One of the other ones. Yeah.
But yeah, little things like that, they don't really matter, I feel
Yeah.
like.
That's what I was kind of
They're
like. In the end, it's
interesting.
like, does it really matter though?
No, and that's the thing. In the moment when, when you're reading through those things, it's nice to get the little peel back behind the curtain with these, well, different accounts say that this happened, different accounts say
Right.
that this happened.
That's what and I've said this before in a previous episode of that's what I like about his writing style. It's depth. It's not just here it is. It feels real. It feels like I'm really reading a real account of something that happened,
Yeah, you feel like you're
because there's
actually
depth.
reading like, a legit history book.
Right. Yeah. So I applaud him for that.
You
Some
know, it's
weird stuff,
done,
but I applaud him for
yeah,
that.
it's done really well. Um, yeah, I think ultimately those little details don't matter to the overall story because she doesn't have the effect that they
They
want her
thought she
to.
would. Yeah.
We don't even know that she tried. There's no,
It's true. Yeah.
we got to think that if she did, they would have sent her away.
Right. Yeah.
But she left of her own will whenever she met somebody else there
Right.
and they took off, like they went to go live their life across the narrow sea.
Right.
So ultimately, like yeah, it just feels like none of it really mattered because none of it worked. And
Right.
uh, cool. I don't think I had anything else to say about that book. Did you?
No. It was a good chapter. Really good chapter.
Yeah, we're building up to the next chapter is going to kick off Jaehaerys's reign, and then we're going to really start getting into all the things that were achieved, a lot of the struggles that he faced too. None of these kings are going to be without their struggles.
For sure. Yeah.
So we're going to get into some of the stuff that he has to deal with during his reign. A lot of the big accomplishments. The King's Road is built during their time. A lot of infrastructure, metaphorically and oh well, I was gonna say metaphorically and figuratively. That's the same thing. Um, literally and figuratively. Um,
Metaphorically. Yeah.
inevitably, irrevocably.
Inevitably. Inevitably. Yeah.
Cool.
Beep a doop a doop a
So yeah,
doop a doop a
we're
doop a doop a doop. Boom, ba-dum, bum,
about to
bow,
start.
bow, doo, doo. The conquest A
Oh my
gone down.
God.
Bow, bow. Anyway.
I feel like this is about to really start rolling towards the dance. Um,
Yes. Yeah.
you know,
I mean, again, like I said, looking at the family tree, I thought it was a little bit further down, but it's just like, whoa, oh, there it is. Okay. Okay. Yeah. All right.
yep. And well,
But
it goes straight from Jaehaerys to Viserys because Viserys's father dies and
right.
his brothers and sisters die. So
Yeah.
this I saw this pointed out with History of Westeros, just talking about the way genetics kind of seem to work with the Targaryens
Right.
is that whenever they marry brother to sister, it seems like there's only ever one child or one surviving child because it just doesn't work, you know? Like they seem to have this ability to be able to, reproduce that way without most of the time we don't see in those marriages, we don't see someone who has a bunch of physical deformities or anything, you know.
Right.
By all
Which is
accounts,
always fascinating to me.
they're always described as very attractive people, you know.
Right. It's quite the opposite.
But it seems like there is a hard time reproducing when it's that close. And they
Right.
mentioned how as quick as you add another bloodline into the mix, you know, they gave the example of Aegon and Visenya and Rhaenys, only one child with each of them. And with Aenys and Alyssa Valarian, we add one new bloodline into the mix there. Now all of a
Mhm.
sudden there's four kids or
Right.
five kids. Yeah, all of a sudden there's five kids. So every time that that happens, they multiply more healthily, at least for like the next generation or so.
Right.
But yeah, I just thought that was
Yeah. Interesting.
interesting. Yeah. They gotta mix it up a little bit, you know.
Fire and blood mathematics.
They should just keep it like close with those Valyrian houses,
Mhm.
like only marry within the Celtigars, Valarians.
Right.
Like that would be the smartest route to go, I think, because then you keep that Valyrian blood. The
Right.
Valarians were also dragon riders, so you keep a lot of that same thing that you're looking for in the family without having to go so direct.
Ugh.
Ugh.
I still say George R. R. Martin is a freak.
Oh my God. He's writing based off of a lot of monarchies though, like this happened all the
It
time
was
in like
still
England
his
and
choice
France.
to put pen to paper.
Oh my God. Like not
No, I
as
get it.
close
I get it, man.
obviously, but they were marrying like cousins and stuff and it would
Yeah.
result in these horrible frailties.
Mm. What's wrong with
Well,
Jimmy over there?
my mind
Uh,
races from the dam.
I don't know why now I think of is on Family Guy, that cold open where it's Kermit and Miss Piggy.
Oh.
Miss Piggy, I don't think Kermit Jr. is looking too good. It's like half him and half like a pig, and is like, "Kill me, I'm in constant pain."
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man.
Oh God. I mean, we do hear about some of the Targs being, some of the ones that die.
Tarks.
Yeah, some of the ones that die in infancy, they
That's terrible.
have dragon qualities.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I remember they mentioned that to Daenerys. They said that when they pulled her son from her, he had black wings like a bat.
Yeah.
And we kind of see that with I feel like the show kind of portrays it a little bit with Emma's last child before she died.
Mhm.
So, or
Yeah.
no, that wasn't Emma. That was the one that Rhaenyra miscarried.
Yeah.
I believe so. Anyway,
Beth.
on that note, I'm going to take us out of here. We'll just keep rambling about different things. Well, if you are looking for more of this show, make sure you go back. You can catch all of our season one coverage episode by episode. We keep it pretty spoiler free for the most part, even though I'm tearing out my hair, trying not to spoil my co-host here on everything. Okay, cool. So make sure you guys follow us on Twitter, YouTube, TikTok at is survived by productions. You can also follow me on my personal at Joshua Lynn Gary. And if you like this show, make sure you check out our other shows by searching is survived by productions on any of those I named. You can catch our other shows, the History of the Cores podcast, where we cover different bands from core genres, and the History of the Cores After Hours podcast, where they roll it back. They go back through it with some fresh takes, some fresh spicy takes on
Fresh.
on some of the bands that we've talked about.
Fresher than your Subway sandwich.
And if you're still out there riding the Peaky Blinders hype train or looking to watch it for the first time,
Who's out there doing that? We want
I
to
don't
know who
know.
you
I
are.
get alerts on my Reddit every single day from people posting on a couple pages I'm on there.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, if you're looking for a companion podcast to watch that through, we've got one, and we go through all six.
Mhm.
God, all 6 seasons of Peaky Blinders. There's a few bonus episodes in there also. Those seem to be ones that people really love. They really love those bonus
They
episodes, those
love me.
history
They really,
episodes.
really love me.
Those are some fun ones.
Yeah, they're good. They're good. My favorite was still the trivia one. That was fun.
Oh God, yeah, those are always embarrassing.
And then you and I got into an argument about a question at the very end of it about Tommy's lovers. That
Oh
was
God,
fun.
that is so speculative. That is
Asterisk.
so
Asterisk.
yeah, that is ridiculous. I
Oh
will
boy.
stand by that till the day I die.
Oh boy.
All right. Well, make sure to give us a 5-star review on any of those platforms, especially Spotify. Give it to us on Spotify. Do it. Like and subscribe. That's it. I'm done.
He's
I
out.
did that all out of order from how I normally do it, so yeah.
You get the message across. That's all that matters.
Yep. Well, until next time, if you think this has a happy ending, you haven't been paying attention.
Ooh, I see what he did there.